Hi, I'm David, and it's the January KPMS meeting. And I think, well, the thing I'm going to suggest is that after Aaron's done with his presentation, after we're done with all our questions and discussion of what he's up to, that anybody who wants to hang out and just keep talking mushrooms, let's, because this is our big opportunity this month to do that. You know, Aaron is going to be presenting initially some video, about 10 minutes of video, and then talking over it, and then opening up for Q&A. And Aaron, you've got the wheel.
All right, thanks, David. I'm honored to be here tonight. My name's Aaron Hilliard. If you're listening to some of the chat before the meeting, I have a little bit of a YouTube channel that's gaining some popularity in the mushroom world, and so I guess I'm here to talk about that. I recently was elected vice president of the club too, so it's kind of weird. He said going to turn it over to the co-host. I guess I'm a host, also the presenter. I don't know. So anyways, I'm going to start this out with a little video. It's about 12 minutes long, a video I made kind of about the videos that I make. And so we'll see how this goes. And then after that, I'm going to talk over some bullet points, and then we'll do question and answer. And hopefully I keep you guys entertained as the first presenter of 2022. So here we go. Let's see.
Welcome to Mushroom Wonderland.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name's Aaron Hilliard. I'm doing the presentation for you this month, and I thought I'd make a video to kind of show you what I do. I make videos about mushrooms like this Pacific Golden Chanterelle or Acanthurellus formosus growing right here on the side of the trail. I'm 42 years old. I'm from Port Orchard, Washington. I'm not a professional mycologist. I'm just a total mushroom enthusiast. I started picking mushrooms when I was about 6 years old. I went to school for film, and eventually both of my loves came together, making videos and foraging mushrooms. And now I'm the creator of a pretty successful mushroom channel on YouTube called Mushroom Wonderland. Let's talk a little bit more about exactly what is Mushroom Wonderland and where did I come from. I would like to start by saying that I'm honored to be the presenter at the club meeting for KPMS this month, but just how I was going to do this presentation was a bit of a challenge. I make videos, lots of videos, and it's hard to talk about without making a video. My name is Aaron Hilliard. I've been a member of KPMS and have recently been honored to be elected vice president of the club. I have been rocketed into a new level of the mycological world with my creation of a YouTube channel all about mushrooms here in the Pacific Northwest. But let me back up a little bit and give you a backstory on myself to paint a better picture. I was born in the winter of 1979 in Bremerton, Washington, and was raised on a small 4-acre farm in rural South Kitsap County. Growing up, spending most of my time playing in the forest with my dog, I noticed mushrooms at a very early age. I remember a particular patch of Hyphiloma fasciculare, sulfur tufts, that would grow back on the same stump every year. I remember being very curious about them while also being a little bit afraid. So I didn't touch them, I just looked with a lot of curiosity. Fairy tales and storybooks with imagery of mushrooms, and even my favorite childhood cartoon, The Smurfs, showed mushrooms in a mysterious and almost magical light. There was always an allure and an attraction to fungus for me. My first memory with a wild mushroom was when my grandma Anna showed me a mushroom and she knew it by its name. It was a shaggy mane, I believe, Caprinus comatus. She even took me on small walks in the forest across the street from where she lived at the time. We would pick mushrooms, then put them in the basket and take them back to try to look them up in her field guides. She also took me to a couple of wild mushroom shows hosted by this very club when they were held at the Westside Improvement Club in Navy Yard City. No doubt she was a member of the club for a long time. She was born in the mid-1920s to a large family in Iowa and was 6 years old when the Depression hit. She eventually moved to Washington State with her family when her father was sent to Japan in World War II. After the war, he met and fell in love with a Japanese woman named Toshi. Toshi brought her knowledge and love of mushrooms and told my grandmother tales of the mushrooms they would seek high in the red pine forest near Nagano, Japan. The almighty matsutake, or pine mushroom. Back then it was in the same genus as honey mushrooms, Armillaria ponderosa they called it, although Toshi just called them matsutake. Toshi passed some of her knowledge on to my grandmother, as well as a lifelong interest in wild edible mushrooms. My grandma went on to become quite locally famous for becoming the first female apprentice in the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. She earned her nickname Laggy Nanny, not to be confused with Rosie the Riveter. She lived out the last 10 years of her life in a camper on a small piece of land near Lake Cushman at the foot of the Olympic Mountains. I was fortunate to spend quite a bit of time with her when I wasn't in school. My grandma sent me out on my first solo mushroom hunt at about 11 years old to seek some large, orange, ruffly looking mushrooms. I returned with a 5-gallon bucket weighed down by a dozen or so of the mushrooms that I had found that fit her description. That night she made the most amazing beef roast with chanterelle gravy, and it was then and there that a lifetime of walking in the soggy woods in the autumn became part of my life. And when she passed away in 1995, she left me her mushroom foraging guides, which still adorn my bookshelf today. It wasn't long after that when my interest was piqued by a different kind of mushroom altogether. I remember asking an adult when I was a child what all those people were walking around in the cow pastures with bags for, and he told me they were picking magic mushrooms. My real interest is always in the hunt and the identification of them. I would still find myself wandering in the mossy green conifer forest, discovering all the beautiful fungi that the rain had promised. I never got tired of finding edible wild mushrooms like chanterelles, but I paid little attention to many other mushrooms besides the few popular edibles that I knew about. When I was 17, I was tipped off that there was a mushroom buyer in Belfair at the Sandy's gas station paying cash for wild mushrooms. The buyer would set up a tent with a couple of folding tables, a couple scales, stackable baskets, and a metal box full of cash. You could simply pick wild mushrooms and they would pay you cash that day on the spot. Teams of guys would pull up in windowless vans stacked with flats overflowing with matsutake buttons and exchange them for a handful of cold hard cash. I learned a lot about the commercial mushroom industry, and the commercial picker idea soon vanished. After graduating from South Kitsap High School in 1998, I went to school at Olympic College for integrated multimedia and video productions, with a dream of becoming a ski and snowboard filmmaker. Never did it cross my mind that making a video about mushrooms would be a good idea. I would attend the annual mushroom shows from KPMS, mainly to buy oyster mushroom kits to grow at home. I just found them so fascinating and fun to grow. It was amazing how something could grow out of nothing and turn into these beautiful fungi. It wasn't until 2014, while taking a hike on Green Mountain with a small camcorder, that I made my first video about mushrooms. Matsutake, in fact. I had found a small cluster of 4 perfect #1 matsutake buttons. The video was dark and grainy, but it sufficed to make my first mushroom video. I had no idea where I was going with that. I also made short videos about how-to projects, family vacations, and various other activities. It was the spring of 2019 when my soon-to-be wife and I were heading home from a rather successful camping and morel hunt trip near Leavenworth that I got the idea to start a separate channel, solely dedicated to mushrooms and foraging in the Pacific Northwest. The name Mushroom Wonderland rolled off my tongue so easily that I was sure that the name had to be taken, but to my surprise it wasn't. So here we go, on an adventure. Subscribe to our channel for more awesome mushroom adventures on Mushroom Wonderland. So a channel was born, although I had no idea how to make it grow. I uploaded a few foraging videos with no particular frequency, and the channel remained stale and undiscovered. The first production that I put any thought into was a sweeping high-definition video slideshow of over 50 different species of local mushrooms. It was put to music with graphics of each mushroom's common and scientific name. I actually presented that video at the KPMS annual mushroom show at Olympic College in 2019. That gave me the idea for what would be my first viral hit, a documentary-style expose on Northwest fungus called Discovering Mushrooms in the Pacific Northwest. Today we are going on a journey into the Pacific Northwest, into the forests, the markets, the kitchens, and the minds of mushroom lovers. I'm gearing this video to the beginner, somebody who's interested in mushrooms, knows nothing about them. We're going to start you at the ground level, and we're going to build you into somebody who can confidently identify a few wild mushrooms in the forest.
Fungi are an entirely separate kingdom of life. They're not plants, they're not animals. They've had to work out their own evolutionary rules for how they make a living.
Discover the mysteries of fungi, the many uses for mushrooms over thousands of years. It gives you a sense of adventure, a sense of purpose. There's a good reason to head to the woods. It's a healthy pastime. So if you're brand new to mushroom hunting, this video I think is going to be for you. From ancient tribes to the modern day forager, as we discover mushrooms in the Pacific Northwest.
I really like mushrooms.
The video did well, gaining over 1,000 views in the next few months. Soon to follow would be a new release every week or two starting in April, and I started to see an increase in views, breaking 1,000 views on several videos and over 10,000 views on one particular morel hunting video. I finally started to understand the YouTube algorithm and saw all of the videos increase views, and subscribership reached 1,000 and my viewed hours were over 4,000 total hours. I received an email that I had been accepted into the YouTube Partner Program and the channel got monetized. Besides running a carpentry business, I continue to make and upload something once a week, a trying task at times, especially in the dead of summer when very few mushrooms are growing and I had little footage to create new content with. This past fall, I started earning money from ads on YouTube. By chance of fate, I was able to meet Alan Rockefeller in person, a famous mycologist from Oakland, California. Here in Hilliard, Mushroom Wonderland. Today I have with me a pretty famous rock star mycologist, Alan Rockefeller.
I figured there must be people that knew which ones were common, rare, and edible, poisonous, hallucinogenic. Tuberia fluteus, Coprinopsis lagopus, Caprinus, Gymnopilus luteifolius. I think what I'll do is really carefully check the microscopy. I never went to college for anything, so a microscope is really good for figuring that stuff out. Amanita villosa, Piloderma acicula, Theniella adonis, Mucronella, Psilocybe pelliculosa, Stropharia ambigua, Foliotis spumosa, Xylaria hypoxylide. Yeah, this is Baziza. Entaloma Vindobanensi, Paneolus olivaceus, Phytocybe nuda, Phytocybe tenera, Strobilaris.
We've been picking with Alan Rockefeller.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, totally. Getting to spend a day foraging and filming with him set the channel on fire and is gaining over 100 subscribers a day. Hey there, so I hope you enjoyed the intro to this presentation. I make videos, so it's kind of hard for me to do a presentation like this. I just thought it would be interesting to kind of give a background. Oftentimes in my YouTube videos, I get comments where people like to hear the stories about my grandma and how I got into mushroom hunting, so I just thought I would share that with you guys. So now comes the part of the presentation. We're gonna talk a little bit about mushrooms, and we're going to talk mostly about YouTube and how to create a YouTube channel if you have an interest in doing that. When I first got into making mushroom videos, I knew maybe a dozen or 15, maybe 20 types of mushrooms. And making these videos has taught me way more about mushrooms than I ever thought I would know. And I've just gone into the rabbit hole and I just keep going deeper and deeper. So I'm excited about what it's going to look like in a couple years from now, or 5 or even 10 years from now, where Mushroom Wonderland will go. Right now I'm sitting at over 11,000 subscribers and gaining several hundred every day. So by the time that I'm doing this presentation, we might be at 15,000 or higher. So the channel is just really gaining in popularity. One thing that YouTube and the internet seemed to be lacking was videos of my home area mushrooms. I saw a need for a mushroom channel here in the Pacific Northwest, and so I'm trying my best to fill that need. So I'm constantly reading mushroom guides. I am scouring the internet. I'm all over the Facebook pages and the identification forums. I hope you've enjoyed it, and maybe come check out the channel sometime. And let's get into some talking points and then questions and answers. So thanks for joining. All right, so can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
All right, so hopefully that gave everybody a little bit of an idea of who I am and the channel. And if you haven't came over to see the channel on YouTube, come check it out, you know. And like I said, I try to constantly upload something once a week. It's pretty busy time in my life between I run a construction company during the day, and I have a family, and you know, and then I'm vice president of this club, and I also I'm working on videos till late at night most nights. So it's pretty busy, but I'm really enjoying it, and having fun, and somehow still coming out with new material in the darkest days of winter. And before you know it, we'll be into spring again, and with the whole new set of mushrooms coming up. So it's kind of exciting to just see where we're going to go with it. But so I just kind of have some bullet points here that I'm going to talk about. I'll try not to bore you guys too much with this stuff, but I thought it was kind of relevant for what I do. And so it was hard for me to decide what to put first. So I just put this stuff first. So understanding computers and cameras, you know, some of the challenges of starting a YouTube channel. So equipment, you know, what cameras, what kind of camera do you need to like make YouTube videos? And the truth is, you know, a cell phone works just fine. I have a GoPro. That was what my first YouTube video was ever shot on, was a GoPro. Problem with the GoPro that I had, the older ones, you couldn't even see what you were filming. So you just kind of pointed the camera in that general direction. There wasn't a lot of like, you know, different things you could do with it. But back then smartphones weren't super smart. So GoPro was a little bit smarter. And then I got some photography cameras, and I have a couple of Canons. I have an older DSLR, a Canon 7D, and a lot of Discover mushrooms in the PNW was shot on that Canon 7D. And then recently I got a better one because I also love doing photography and mushroom photography. And so I got a Canon EOS R, which is like the new mirrorless full frame camera, which is really nice with some different lenses. But truth be told, it's kind of a pain in the butt to carry it out into the woods, to set up tripods and all of that kind of stuff. It's pretty shaky, and it's pretty fragile, and I don't want to get rained on and all of that. So the majority of the videos that I make are shot with my Galaxy S10e, S21. And so it shoots like 4K. And so a lot of the footage is shaky. And I get comments like that quite a bit of like, it makes me dizzy to watch your videos, you know? And so I'm trying to be less in a hurry about it. But like I explained, I'm kind of busy. So when I go for mushroom walks, it's just easy for me to pull my phone out of my pocket and work like that. And but as the channel gains more in popularity, eventually, hopefully someday, maybe I'll not have to do my day job so hard, and I could put more time into the videos and get out nicer cameras and make better production work. But truth is, people like the cell phone footage just as much. So you don't need a fancy camera to get into YouTube stuff. Computers, you know, you need a computer to be able to do editing like I do. Minimum of 16 gigabytes of RAM. 32 would be ideal. Got to have a minimum of 4 processors. You got to have a pretty big hard drive to hold these video files. And I have like several external hard drives on my computer to save all the video files. Equipment compatibility, you know, if you're shooting stuff on an iPhone and then you're trying to load it into your Android laptop or PC, those platforms seem to not be very compatible together. So I have people that are like, man, I got some awesome footage of a certain mushroom like on their iPhone, but I can't really use that footage because Apple just is made to not really want to play well with PC, you know. Digital editing, there's a lot of different digital editing programs out there, and you don't even necessarily need to edit if you want to make a YouTube channel. You could just do one long recording, but it's pretty tough. If you're not used to being on camera, it's tough to just fluently talk and not have to like do different takes. And so that's where editing really helps. If you stumble on your words, or you say something stupid, or maybe you misidentify something, it's nice to be able to edit that stuff out, because you know, people on the internet can be brutal. And if you if you're giving misinformation, they are going to be the first to let you know. You know what I mean? So it's pretty important, especially in this line of YouTube channels, to be pretty sure that I'm accurate about what I'm talking about. And even then, sometimes something will get through, and I learn from it. So it's cool. And for the most part, the fans of the channel have been really cool, you know, and sometimes will send me a message and say, I think that the Western version of that mushroom is actually called this now. And then I learn, you know, and in future videos, I'll make that correction. But and then computer organization, I was super disorganized when I first started making videos, but it's become like a whole part of this deal itself is just cataloging all the different mushrooms that I find, and different photographs and videos of them, and just being able to find everything when I need it, because it's easy right now. I'm doing foraging videos where I just wander through the forest, and I basically we ID every kind of mushroom that I come across, and so that's pretty easy to edit those videos. But when I do more specialized videos, which I'll get more into it probably later in February, when there's just no mushrooms to forage out there, or in the dead of you know, July, it's kind of hard to find a lot of wild mushrooms. So I refer back to a lot of footage so I can put together other videos. You know, you got to keep the videos coming out in order for the channel to stay relevant, or else it'll kind of go underground. Here's another set of things. The audience. All right. So the type of people that I'm trying to cater to, you know, there's like, am I trying to make videos for seasoned mycologists or for newbies? You know what I mean? And I would like for them to appeal to everybody in the whole spectrum, from, you know, brand new people that know nothing about mushrooms to people who know a lot about mushrooms. You know, like a mycophile like myself, I can probably identify over 100 genus of mushrooms, but I still am interested to see other people finding them in the wild, just so I can see the habitat and stuff. So hopefully, if you're brand new, I make enough sense that you can understand what I'm talking about when I'm describing a mushroom and its features. And then also, if you're a mycologist, that you could just, you know, get some entertainment out of it, and hopefully agree with what I say, or just you know, give me helpful comments in the comment section. What's the age group? And one thing that's interesting about YouTube is that in the YouTube studio, I can look up the analytics of the channel and see exactly who my audience is. And it's pretty cool that the main audience for this channel, out of 11.8 thousand viewers, is ages 25 to 45. So it's a pretty young crowd. So, you know, when I was a kid and my grandma would take me to the KPMS meetings, it was like blue-haired ladies and old guys with walkers. I swear I was like the youngest guy, you know, that, and so it caused me to be really shy about mushrooms for a long time. You know, through my teens and stuff, I would sneak out into the woods and stuff, but it wasn't that cool, you know, with my friends. And it wasn't until I was like 40 that I'm like ready to come out of the closet with my nerdy affection for mushrooms. You know what I mean? But I'm glad I did finally. But now I see people in their 20s that are way into mushrooms and loud and proud about it and educating people. And I'm like, it's super cool. So it's like a new wave of interest in fungi. So, you know, something I had to decide on was like, what's the vibe of the videos? You know, some of my videos, and so I'm still experimenting a lot. So if you're a fan of the channel, or if you watch all the videos, you'll notice like some of them are like really loud, hardcore, like trap music, and it's real fast cuts and exciting. And then some of them are like ASMR and like just the sounds of the forest. And I'm just trying to see what the audience really likes. And I don't know, it's a pretty mixed reaction. And so what I like, I've always, you know, I don't know, I'm evolving, as we all are, hopefully. And so, you know, as I'm moving forward, what I thought was an entertaining video a couple of years ago, now it looks a little bit different to me. But you know, I'm constantly trying to consider, how am I going to reach my audience? You know, if I, you know, having like a heavy rap beat in the background might not be very attractive to a lot of the older audience and stuff like that. So some things, you know, about YouTube videos is like long form or short form content. And so it's easy to lose people on a video on YouTube if it's not holding their interest for very long. And so some people do better just making videos that are 2 minutes long, you know, that discover mushrooms in the Pacific Northwest. David Ansley, our president, his voice was featured in the trailer for that. He had a big part in it. And it was over an hour long, and people tend to watch that all the way through. They find it entertaining, as well as some of my foraging walks. People like that too. But you know, I'm starting to do a thing where I'm chopping up a lot of the videos, pulling individual mushroom IDs out. So on Sunday nights, I'm going to try to release a longer, you know, a 20 to 30 minute long foraging video. And then on Wednesdays, I'm going to release a short form mushroom identification, just a few minutes long. And so I can get more content out there on the internet without totally overloading myself. And so there's a place for all of it, you know, but I think a lot of people, from what I read in the comments, people like to just zone out and you know, vicariously walk through the forest with me, you know. So those are getting more popular, I think. Is it for kids or not? I keep it pretty clean. I don't do any cussing, or we minimally talk about like hallucinogenic mushrooms on there, but never really in a light that would be like encouraging it or anything like that, which I don't, and which YouTube does not condone. So that's a touchy subject to be talking about on YouTube. So I like to keep it pretty family friendly. And, you know, I don't do hallucinogenic mushrooms anymore, so I don't have a problem just talking about edible wild mushrooms. And I've got a real interest in poisonous mushrooms too. So they're all very interesting to me. And then there's like tags, like kind of like hashtags. And so I find that if I put in hashtags like edible wild mushrooms, hunting for mushrooms, mushroom foraging, you know, those help to attract a lot of people, because YouTube is a search engine. So when people go on YouTube and they type in foraging for wild mushrooms, it will hopefully take them to my video. And as you get more creative with tags, just like with hashtags on Instagram or any of these other platforms, you know, I use ones like bushcraft or survival, you know, and these are still relevant topics, you know, and I get people coming over that are into survival, and now they want to learn how to forage mushrooms, and it's pretty cool that way to reach a wider audience, to try to think of all the people that could potentially have an interest in mushrooms. And it's pretty surprising. I think everybody deep down has some interest in mushrooms, or, you know, everybody I take out, like every new person that comes out into the woods gets a real thrill out of it. And we kind of laugh because it's like adult Easter egg hunting to some extent, you know, but I really do think it like hits something primal in us, you know, that foraging part of our lower brain that that really gets stimulated when we get out into the forest and we're seeking things that we can use. It's just it's cool. So if I can reach those people too and bring them on board, awesome, you know. Let's see the next page. I hope I'm not boring you guys too much. It's hard to tell without like hearing any reactions or applauses or anything.
You're doing fine. I mean, people are accumulating questions, I'm sure.
Okay. So some elements, some elements of the video. My introduction and logo. I kind of majored in like advertising in school. So I had a lot of fun doing the intro and the logo for it. And I'm just kind of making a brand out of Mushroom Wonderland. And we're talking about making some t-shirts and beanies and some baskets and stuff that say Mushroom Wonderland on them, that hopefully, you know, kind of just grow this into a product more than just a YouTube channel. B-roll. So B-roll is a type of footage that, you know, is kind of filler footage, and it helps to establish a setting in a video. So B-roll of the forest, you know, I have a drone, and I actually got licensed by the FAA for flying a drone. I went through the Part 107 test down at the airport and everything like that. So I have a drone and I can use that, even though I don't incorporate it too much into the videos, but it makes for beautiful B-roll and, you know, just nice footage of the forest and of mushrooms, you know, and that's a huge part of the shooting, is just like getting those kind of shots. And it kind of leads into stretching content. You know, sometimes there's not a ton to talk about. So sometimes B-roll is used to sort of elongate the, you know, I'm kind of telling the secrets of the trade right now, but sort of elongate the viewing time of some of these videos. When they're monetized, I get a little more money the longer you sit and watch my video, right? So you'll notice that on a lot of YouTube videos, we'll find ways to just squeeze another second or two out of you if we can to just you know, see how far we can keep you entertained. Continuity, you know, if I'm out walking in the woods doing a foray just by myself with the camera, it's pretty simple. But there's been times when I did make a misidentification and went back to that spot to correctly identify the mushroom. And in order to make it look like all one video, there is a little magic behind the scenes, you know. And so I wear the same coat so that you wouldn't be like, how come he was wearing something different in that scene? You know what I mean? It's something you got to be aware of. You know, if you're carrying a certain basket and then the next scene you're carrying a different one, it kind of ruins the magic of film. But focus and lighting, they can always be a challenge, especially this time of year. It's like dark in the woods starting, you know, pretty much all day around. The shadows are just so tall, the sun's just barely over the horizon. So I carry some LED lighting and stuff with me, and my focus isn't always the best. Like, you know, definitely can improve in the camera work part, but right now I'm just trying to focus on what content do people really want to see, you know, the mushroom people really want to see. And part of that is like thinking, because I started watching mushroom videos and I watched a couple of different YouTubers. There's one guy in the UK called Wild Foods UK, and he speaks very British, but he's just like really comforting to watch. And I would just watch his videos all the time, and it was just like he doesn't do any kind of editing or music or anything like that. And I got some ideas from these other people, and so I forgot where I was going with that, but anyways, I'm just trying to you know, see what people like. And oh, that's what I was saying is there were certain things that I would look for in his videos or in other mushroom YouTubers videos that I enjoyed, and so I try to rack my brain and go, what do I like to see? You know, maybe I can put that into my video. And so that's why I continue to evolve. I discover other YouTubers that aren't even necessarily mushroom people, but the way that they shoot their videos is really entertaining and just sucks you in. And so it's always changing, and it's fun. So no doubt in like 5 years, Mushroom Wonderland is going to look a lot different than it has in the past 2 years, just because it's growing and changing that fast. So I think I have a little bit more to. Oh yeah, challenges. So YouTube itself, yeah, production quality, like I said, it doesn't really matter as long as you have good content. It doesn't matter if you have fancy bells and whistles and nice audio equipment and lighting and all of that kind of stuff. If you have entertaining information to share with humans on the internet, people will watch it, you know. And like I said, some of my first videos were how-to videos. I bought like a Coleman camp trailer, and the lift system on it broke, you know, one of those pop-up tent trailers, and the lift system broke. So I went to YouTube to try to find, how do I fix it? And there was no video for that. So I was like, well, I better make a video while I figure this out, right? So I set up my GoPro, I fixed the lift system on the Coleman camp trailer, and I released a video onto YouTube, how to fix a lift system on a Coleman camp trailer. And it's got like 30,000 views on it or something like that, you know, because people are looking for that kind of stuff. So whatever your interest is, if you do enough of it and you upload a video once a week, you too can become a YouTuber, you know. And it doesn't, I hope it's not about mushrooms. I don't want any competition here, but I'm just saying, if you got to, if you're good at sewing, you know, if you're good at cooking, if you're good at mowing your lawn, you know, make videos about it and upload them. YouTube is just crazy. It's like a whole new world out here. Consistency, you know, that's another thing I mentioned, once a week. And in order to start to get views on YouTube, you've got to be consistent, and you got to be kind of driven and motivated to continue to make videos. It's easy to give up or be discouraged. And even when you're not getting a lot of views, you got to make another video, upload it that week. You know, the more videos, the better. But I don't want to like bore, you know, get people tired of seeing Mushroom Wonderland stuff pop up on their YouTube page. So I think once a week is like a good amount, because otherwise, you know, you might be like, oh, I didn't even watch the last one, and now there's another one out. Before you know it, like maybe you just get frazzled and you stop watching. I don't know. I like to like keep that carrot out ahead of the donkey, you know what I mean? I'm not calling you people donkeys, just saying. But so yeah, tags, already mentioned those. Sharing across platforms, like if I go on Facebook and I promote my own YouTube page, the YouTube algorithm doesn't like that. It's okay if you guys promote Mushroom Wonderland through Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and whatever else, but when I do it personally, I guess the YouTube algorithm doesn't care for that very much. It's kind of a selfish platform. So for me, you know, I did that in the beginning and it didn't seem to be doing me any favors. And once I stopped sharing my own page on Facebook, I seem to be getting more views. So it's weird how that is. Disclaimers. I wrote some disclaimers for a couple of videos that talk about hallucinogenic mushrooms. Basically, I've seen other other channels that have mushrooms about psychedelic videos about psychedelic mushrooms, and they put disclaimers on there. These videos are clearly monetized and they're still on the internet after 4 years. I recently, just a few months ago, I put out a video with plenty of disclaimers saying that this is for harm reduction. This is for identification purposes. I'm not condoning the use. We're not encouraging use of drugs or whatever. And it was a comparison of a Galerina marginata, which is a deadly local mushroom, and psilocybe folliculosa, which is a recreational hallucinogenic mushroom, can be found in the woods around here. And I put them side by side. They were growing right side by side, and YouTube removed it from the internet and gave me a warning that it was dangerous content, even with the disclaimer. So it's kind of like a weird gray area, and it makes me scared to proceed with any more magic mushroom videos. So I might, you might not be seeing many of those for a while, because I feel like YouTube's kind of already got their eye on me, like watch out. But I really think that the video is like really helpful, because then people are gonna go looking for those mushrooms, whether anybody likes it or not. I think it's important to educate people that there are deadly lookalikes out there, and people should know that. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy for that, but copyright issues. I use a lot of music that I buy the copyrights to through a music provider service. So you can't just make a video and upload your favorite song on it. YouTube will shut that down or have it removed, and you could potentially face legal trouble. I make sure everything that I use in my videos is copyright free, or I paid for the copyrights. So there is money that goes into my channel. Analytics, yeah. So YouTube Studio, it's pretty cool. I mentioned how I could see who my demographic was. I can see what time you guys are watching my videos, and I can learn when to upload videos. I can learn what kind of titles worked and which ones didn't, what kind of tags worked and which ones didn't, whether you're male or female, what country you're from. I mean, the analytics go pretty deep. So I can see where my main traffic is coming from, what time they want to watch it. Are they male or female? What age they are? Really kind of cool information in it. And not only just for my YouTube channel, but to see who's interested in mushrooms out here. Tell you what, 30-year-old Australian males are interested in some mushrooms right now. I don't know what that is, but. And then monetization, you get paid by these advertisers. So when you're watching YouTube videos and there's ads in the middle, us as creators don't get to choose what ads are running on our videos. And also, just so you know, even if my channel wasn't monetized, they would still run those ads. I just don't get any money for it. So I might as well be getting paid for the ads that they run in the middle of the video. And so the way it works is these advertisers have an auction and they go, hey, look, here's some of the upcoming channels on YouTube. Do you want to run ads on there? And they see Mushroom Wonderland. Oh, they're getting all these viewing hours. People are going here and they're sticking around. They're watching through the whole video. And then advertisers go, hey, we'll pay this much to be on their video. Somebody will say, we'll pay a little bit more to be on their video. And so the more people get enthralled in your video, the more they're willing to pay for advertising. So, I've managed to make pretty decent money. I'm not going to talk about that here tonight, but it's pretty exciting where it's going just within a few months of monetization on YouTube, because people tend to stick around through the commercials to see what mushrooms are coming up. So pretty cool that way. And I think I might have, okay. So the mushrooms themselves, having good IDs, like I mentioned, people on the internet can be pretty brutal and they want to point out everything you're doing wrong. So if you make a wrong ID, they're sure to know it. So I definitely try to double, triple check my IDs and know what I'm talking about. But I have learned so much making these videos, and I revisit the same mushrooms over and over and over. And so a lot of these names are just imprinted in my brain, even the spelling of them, because I write the subtitles out on the screens, in my editing program. So after writing them and saying them and listening to the editing over and over and over, it burns into your brain. And so as I discover new mushrooms, I make sure to do my research on them before I put them in a video. Respecting the land, that means like another thing, you know, I get some people who get really mad about even plucking mushrooms, you know, and it's back to that constant debate about whether to cut or to pluck a mushroom. And anybody that knows anything about mushrooms, any mycologist you hear from is going to tell you it does not make a difference whether you cut or pluck a mushroom. It's, you know, whatever makes you more comfortable. You're not going to hurt the mycelium by plucking a mushroom, but you can help the mycelium, you know, by plugging up your holes with some new substrate, with some wood chips or moss or whatever it be, so that infections don't get into that mycelium. And basically don't litter. If you find trash, maybe pick it up too, you know, throw it in your basket. So I have a lot of respect for the land and trying to help keep the forest clean. How do I know the spots? This question was brought up by David, you know, to me recently, just when he and I were talking one-on-one, and it's like, so I kind of started because I do roam the forests every autumn since I was a kid, but I'm also a pretty avid mountain biker. So I cover a lot of miles of trails in the conifer forests around here, and you know, and then a mushroom catches my eye, and I hit the brakes and I check it out, you know, and then I'll start looking around there, and discover, you know, more of its family, and then I start to recognize that habitat. And as the years have gone by, I start to go, hey, this looks like good matsutake habitat. Hey, this looks like it could be good lobster habitat, you know. And then I'll start walking into the woods, and that's how you find patches. You've gotta, you know, there's certain people that have come on the channel trying to find exactly where I went to go raid my patch or something like that, you know. And it's like, okay, if that's really what you're after, but to me the thrill is in the hunt, you know what I mean? You could go to the store and go buy a lot of these mushrooms if you want. I mean, if you really just want to eat those mushrooms that bad, but to me it's like discovering your own patch, discovering your own mushrooms. And then, like, to be honest, you know, it's kind of like a secret mushroom man code, is like, when you got a good patch of porcinis, you keep that a secret, you know what I mean? You could tell your family and close friends if you want, but I'm not going to come on here and give you guys the exact coordinates, just because there are people out there that would come and just trample the whole forest down looking for those mushrooms. So I don't know. My advice to people who are like, I don't know where to find them, is like, you gotta log hours, you gotta get out into the woods, and you gotta spend time walking through the woods, and you will stumble across mushrooms, and then you'll just start to learn habitat, where those mushrooms grow. You know, you're gonna start to notice the different, oh, I'm around alder trees and I'm not finding chanterelles, weird, right? You'll start to know that, you know, if you're in a conifer forest, you're not finding oyster mushrooms growing on the sides of the trees. It just takes time and repetition, and you just get better with experience and being in the woods, just having your eyes on the ground. Staying current. So this is a thing, because for a long time, mushrooms just, you know, like, so this book right here, Mushrooms Demystified, is like the mushroom Bible, right? This is David Aurora. The pocket guide companion to this one is All the Rain Promises and More. And it's still like probably the most popular pocket mushroom guide out there. But it was, you know, copyright 1986. So this stuff's like 35 years old, right? And it's still relevant. I mean, when you look at this mushroom, it's going to call it this is the Agaricus augustus, but you know, it'll give you the same description, it'll give you the same edibility, but oftentimes nowadays the names in here are not correct anymore, because we discovered through DNA sequencing that mushrooms here out west of the Rockies are not genetically the same as mushrooms on the East Coast or in Europe. So what we called a Clidosope nuda, the bluet, you know, they named that in Europe, and you know, and then it comes across the ocean, and then they called it that on the East Coast, and we get all the way over here, and it's like, well, but it doesn't exactly match up. I mean, it does have some of the same characteristics, a lot of the same characteristics, but for taxonomy purposes, they're reclassifying tons of mushrooms, and so it's an ever-changing game. So trying to stay current on that, you know, what we always called the Zeller's bolete here in the Northwest. We do have Zellers, but it's pretty rare, and now the Xerocomelus atropurpureus is kind of you know, that's the name that has been given to what a lot of us always called the Zeller's bolete. And so if I call this a Zeller's and it's the atropurpureus, then somebody is inevitably going to come in the comments and be like, you don't know what you're talking about, that's called something else now. And so I mean, I'm telling you, there's haters on YouTube, so that's a challenge, you know, is to just make sure that I'm staying current. And I do that through the Facebook community. Honestly, I'm on a lot of the identification pages, And I'm in cahoots with a lot of the guys that are in the Puget Sound Mycological Society that are doing a lot of the DNA sequencing on mushrooms. And so I'm just trying to stay up with the current names. And then, like I said, haters, you know, there's some people out there that just that you just got to deal with. If you have a YouTube channel and it gets any popularity, there's going to be people that are gonna just not like you for some reason and give you thumbs down on the videos and stuff like that. And I've removed a couple of people's comments that were just like crazy weird out of left field. Like, what did I ever do to that person? You know what I mean? Like, I just try to talk about mushrooms and be friendly. I don't know why anybody would, but the internet's a big and a weird place. So I don't know. I'm trying to learn and adapt to all this stuff, but just some forewarning, if you've ever thought about starting a YouTube channel, those are some of the challenges you get to look forward to, but it can be super rewarding and fun if you like making videos, or if you have a passion for anything. And, you know, that could be your calling in life. It's the #1 growing occupation in the United States, is a YouTube entrepreneur. So there you go. I'm trying to jump on board while the getting is good. So yeah, I guess that's all I got. I appreciate coming on. We can like do questions and answers if anybody got any of those. And I thank you all, and especially everybody who's like comes to the channel and subscribes. I see a couple of you people in here, and I always try to respond to the comments. And I love the thumbs up and all that kind of stuff. It does help the channel grow when you leave a comment or you give a thumbs up on a video. So thank you all very much for joining here tonight and for supporting the channel.
Hey, Aaron, this is terrific. Everybody, if you want to talk, I'll just hold down your space bar and we'll just do it that way. But Aaron, let me kick it off with a couple of questions that came up in the chat while you were talking. You know, you were talking about your analytics, and a couple of people curious to know, do you have any sense of the geography? I mean, besides those 30-year-old guys in Australia, do you have a lot of people from Washington and Oregon mostly, or is it, you know, much broader than that?
Yeah, it doesn't break it down by state, and I wish it did, because I am sort of catering to the PNW, just because mushrooms are regional that way. But it doesn't mean that a lot of the information isn't relevant elsewhere, but it just tells me the country, which it would be kind of cool to get a little bit tighter and be like, are they in Washington or you know, Oregon? But I'm getting a lot of comments, people from the UK and from the East Coast, and they still find relevance in this channel, you know, because a lot of the mushrooms are the same, even though like over here chanterelles grow with conifer trees, and on the East Coast they grow with oak trees, you know. So it is pretty regional, you know, and that's why I have a place here. There's some huge mushroom channels like Learn Your Land out east, you know, he's got 1 million subscribers, but it's a different habitat, so it's totally it's not totally irrelevant, but it gives me a space for a good channel here in the Northwest.
Let's see, there's a question here from Anna Lisa. Do you just want to ask that out loud? All right. Ken.
Hello. Will you be doing any collabs with any big names like Fascinated by Fungus, aka Dr. Gordon Walker? He's kind of a big name on TikTok and also Instagram.
Oh, well, I'm gonna have a couple more videos with Alan Rockefeller coming out. I've recently been talking to Jack Johnson, which he was actually on our meeting either last month or the month before, and I'm gonna go meet up with him in Olympia and do some microscopy. I have exchanged some emails with Paul Stamets, which would be kind of a fun one to do a collaboration with. But I've got a few friends that are kind of big in the mycological world, but I'm sort of new to it myself. You know, like I said, I kind of just broke into this thing a couple of years ago, and I'm meeting all these super cool people and really, really big people in the mycology world. And so hopefully, you know, as the years go on and it gains in popularity, more people are going to be willing to come on. But I got an invite to Oakland, down to Alan Rockefeller's lab at Mimosa Therapeutics, and then maybe meet up with him and that other YouTuber, you know, Crime Pays But Botany Doesn't guy. Oh my gosh, that's such a fun channel if you ever check that out. But so hopefully there'll be some more cool big collabs going on. So I appreciate that, and yeah, I would like to do that.
Let's see, Dave, you had a question about algorithms? Yeah. Go ahead, go with it. You're muted still, sorry.
Yeah, I just wondered if you could speak a little bit to algorithms. I heard you mention them in the beginning of the video, and kind of how that affects the popularity and how things started blowing up a little bit when you started learning a little bit more about them. I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, definitely. So I didn't really understand the algorithm. I just thought you upload things on YouTube and then you hope it goes viral, you know, and I thought people got famous on YouTube because they got lucky. And it really is not about that. It's really about, there is an algorithm and there's a way to get into it. And so I started learning about that. I started watching a channel called the Think Media Podcast with this guy, Sean Cannell, and he does all these inspirational videos for like YouTubers, kind of motivational videos, how to get your first 1,000 subscribers, how to get monetized. It takes 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watched hours before you can get monetized, right? And so like getting up to that point, starting from absolute scratch, how do I attract people to my page? And it's really about like consistency. And YouTube awards that. They go, okay, you're making quality content and you're doing it consistently over and over. This person means business. This person means business. So they're going to start to suggest it to an audience. And then if those people hit the thumbs up button, or they say a comment, or they share it with a friend, then they go, okay. And so it spreads it out to 100 people, you know? And if those people start to have a good reaction, then it spreads it out to 1,000, and it can continue to multiply like that. And so the more I upload, you know, old videos that I made, you know, in the spring of 2020, they bumped along with 100 views for 2 years. And then now that all the other new videos are getting a lot of traction, those old videos are getting traction too. So all the videos are growing as the channel grows. So it's kind of cool. So as the algorithm, you know, YouTube wants you to succeed because they want advertisers paying them money, right? So they're like, how many people are going to like this? They try it out. And as long as people are liking it, then they try to hit a bigger audience, you know. And I had one that I released a couple of weeks ago that had 43,000 views on it already. And when I was, you know, started out, if I got 300 views, I was really stoked about it. You know what I mean? And so YouTube has recognized that people want to learn about mushrooms here in the PNW. And so they're catering to that, and they're suggesting it on more people's YouTube feed. And so it works out good for me. And but it takes a while. So if you're starting a YouTube channel, you got to be persistent and consistent, and just keep going, even if you feel discouraged. It could feel easy to just be like, screw it, what's the point? There's so many YouTube creators, there's so much going on the internet, how will I ever get noticed? And it's all about, you know, persisting.
Good stuff. Thanks, brother. I actually was kind of playing around with it myself during COVID, making a bunch of videos, and I just got an adult job, and so I had to kind of give it a rest for a while, but I might think about getting back into it. Good stuff.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Aaron, how many times do you have to answer questions for comments, or how many time do you take to do that? If people watch it and then they ask you stuff and whatever, that would kind of frighten me off, that you have too much of that.
There is that. Yeah, that's a thing. But I really try to. Another part of the YouTube algorithm is that interaction with your fans and with comments also helps. YouTube senses that there's a lot of interaction happening on this channel, and so they're going to promote it more if there's a lot of interaction happening. So I sit down at night. I'm kind of a late night guy. I go to bed pretty late usually, and I'll go lay in bed, and then I'll just go through and just start answering comments. You know, sometimes they're repetitive, but that's fine, you know, because a lot of these people have never seen the channel before. I got to keep that in mind. So even though the question was asked 10 times already this fall, this person has never seen the channel and they don't know much about mushrooms, and they're excited to learn. And so trying to stay in a good attitude is a big part of it. You know, then there's videos like I did one foraging psilocybe mushrooms with Alan Rockefeller, and it's at like 150,000 views on it, and there's thousands of comments, and there's no way I could possibly keep up with it. So when a video gets big like that, it's you know, it's nothing personal against people that are trying to comment. Mm-hmm. Whether it be me or any other YouTube creator. At a certain point, your comments just get buried, they get hard to find, you know, and so, you know, it becomes a challenge. And it's like, man, if I was to respond to everybody on that, I couldn't do anything else during my day.
Hey, Aaron, here's a question from the chat. Like, how many hours of film do you shoot versus, what you actually end up using?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I'll have, probably an hour worth of video and whittle it down to, 16 minutes, which, but that's part of what I was saying, like, because it's hard to stay humble and do this thing. And part of me, when I was new, I'm like, they don't want to hear me rattling on about this or that. Like, I just get right to the point, it's like, I'm just like, welcome to Mushroom Wonderland. Here's a chanterelle. It grows here in the conifer forest in the moss, and now I've kind of like started to, sometimes I'll talk about my opinion on the forest or on clear cutting or something like that. And the people stick around and watch, and they like that stuff too. So with each video I go, okay, people, maybe people like to listen to me just talk about my experiences with mushrooms or whatever. And so I'm trying to get to a point where I trim out less, it's a whole thing of like, how confident are you with yourself on camera? I just want to edit my whole, just me out of them completely sometimes, but there wouldn't be any video left, so. But a lot ends up on the editor floor, let's just say that,
Aaron, do you ever have to re-edit some of the things when someone tells you that the mushroom identification is wrong? Do you put a little note on the video, or do you just, how do you handle that?
For the most part, I haven't ran across too much of that, but there has been one or two times. One time I was fairly new, I misidentified a stereum, a false turkey tail, as a turkey tail, and I got called out by a few people. And it was kind of an innocent mistake, but at the same time, it's not a toxic mushroom, so it wouldn't be dangerous if somebody like picked that and mistook it. But I ended up removing the whole video because I don't want a reputation that that I'm putting out false information. So if somebody calls me out on something, it's cringy, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta make a quick decision. I guess there is a way in YouTube that I could go in and just cut sections out, but I haven't looked into that yet. I just really try to double check what I do. And I'm right here on my computer is my workstation, my editing station, and I got mushroom books right here so that when I'm editing, I'm like triple referencing stuff so that so I know I'm accurate. And I learn a lot by doing it too. So. Tom.
Aaron, I just wanted to make a comment. As you were talking just now and earlier, it's so similar. What you're doing is so similar to what every teacher has to learn. It's really fascinating about how you present the material, how you respond to questions, how do you respond to challenges. All of that stuff happens in a classroom. And it's really fascinating to me to hear you talk about that. And it's made me think back over, I get these instantaneous memories of things that I've done when I was teaching that were similar to what you were talking about. It's really fascinating. But it turns out in the long run, what you're doing is communicating with people. And if you don't make the connection, if people can't find a connection to it, through you're the media, to the topic. And it was always fascinating to me to get a challenge in the class. And I would be able to take the challenge and turn it into interest about the subject. And it's truly fascinating to hear you talk about your experience, because I thank you. You wrote back good things.
Really cool, Tom. Thanks. I didn't know a teacher. That's awesome. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. That's really cool. Thank you for that.
You bet.
I did see something in the chat about editing software. So I use Adobe Premiere Pro, which is kind of it's the industry standard for video editing software. It's either Adobe Premiere Pro or Avid, and this is what even the big movie makers use. But you can get a subscription for it online, the cloud version of it. It's like $25 a month or something like that. And when I went to Olympic College in the year 2000, I learned Adobe when I was going to school for integrated multimedia and for digital video stuff. So I kind of had an idea of how it worked, but back then it was Adobe 5.1, which is like, it's light years beyond, well, not light years, but 20 years beyond that now, And so I was lucky enough to learn in school how to use Adobe Premiere, but I also had a different one on my laptop that was called like Director Cut Pro or something, and it was like way more user friendly. So there's editing software out there that's very simple to learn to use, and it's not as complicated as Adobe Premiere, but it doesn't have as many options. So if you really want to like learn how to do digital editing, I would say start with Adobe Premiere and learn there. And there's tutorials and everything you can watch, but it's truly an amazing program. It's so much fun. Like that's my favorite thing, maybe is I mean, besides walking around in the woods is sitting down and editing, you know. So sometimes I'm like, it's midnight, I gotta go to bed. I'm still here editing, you know. All right. You're muted, David. David, you're muted. Oh, if you're talking to me, I don't know.
There.
Oh.
My space bar is broken, I guess. Hey, just wondering about your future directions. Like, you got like 60, 70 videos up now. Are you going like to new habitats or new species or new ways of looking at the mushrooms or different kinds of, you know, music to play behind them? I mean, what kind of stuff are you seeing as a new challenge?
That was a good question. And it's an important one that I should probably ask myself more, you know, because I'm just having fun in the moment, but I should have a vision on the future. And I do to some extent, you know, I'm hoping to incorporate more cooking into my videos. And when I was going to college for video stuff, I actually started cooking in restaurants and a steakhouse downtown and then into the seafood place. And I became quite a good cook and worked as a saute chef at a local restaurant and then ended up working underneath a pretty big chef. So I got good at cooking. It just didn't quite pay the bills like construction did. So I got out of that. But one thing I would like to do is go out and forage mushrooms and then maybe even do camp style cooking of the mushrooms that I just foraged while we're out in the woods, you know, with cast iron and real wood and saute up mushrooms or something. There's a couple of my videos that I've done some cooking on. I did a candy caps one for Christmas and made some candy cap banana bread. That was really good. And a lot of people go, oh man, we like the cooking stuff. We like the cooking stuff. And so I want to do that. But, you know, right now I work 9 to 5. I got a family. I've got obligations. I edit videos. It's like, so, you know, it's a lot of work right now. And hopefully if I generate a, you know, big enough following and enough money, then I can go full time and devote all my time and effort into making mushroom videos and cooking videos and all of it. But, yeah, we love traveling, so I can't wait to do foraging out of state or hopefully out of country. You know, we went to Hawaii last summer and my wife was laughing at me because I'm just everywhere I go, I'm foraging, I'm looking at the berries, I'm looking at the plants. And she kind of opened my eyes to that. She goes, you never stop. You never stop foraging. Everywhere, you know, I'm at the putt-putt golf and I'm eating limes off the tree that's there. She's like, what are you doing? You know, so I can't wait to go, you know, on our travels and find more mushrooms. So the future is big and bright. I'm excited for it. I don't know.
So I got another question about habitat. I mean, you talked about how you find these places. How wide a range of habitat are you really sort of incorporating? I mean, is it all of Western Washington in these, or is it mostly within, you know, biking distance of Port Orchard? I mean, how far do you roam?
Man, you got all the good questions. Yeah, that's another good one. I do stay usually in the West Sound, whether it be here on the Kitsap Peninsula or in the foothills of the Olympics, but not too far out. You know, when we do morels, we'll go over by Leavenworth and down by Natchez, and you know, east of the mountains is where you're going to find the good black morels. But I have found that right here on the Kitsap Peninsula, I have found every mushroom that grows west of the Cascade Mountains, just right within a few miles of my own house. And it's probably like that if you live in this area for you too. And we're blessed to have these conifer forests. And so, you know, something to understand. And I talk about mycorrhizal mushrooms a lot in my videos. Ectomycorrhizal mushrooms means mushrooms that associate with plants and trees. And around here, a lot of these mushrooms grow with coniferous trees like hemlocks and fir trees, some pine, never cedar, but these big evergreen forests that have moss all over the floor, great place to go looking for ectomycorrhizal mushrooms. And so when I want to go find mushrooms and I know where mushrooms are going to be growing, I head into the conifer forest where there's mossy ground, salal underbrush, and there's tons of those kind of forests around here. Now finding the saprobic mushrooms is a little trickier because they drift on the wind and they land wherever they can feed on something. And so you might find them in your compost pile. You might find them in a local park. You might find them high in the woods on a dead log, but they're not as predictable as mycorrhizal mushrooms. So when I'm like, I want to go out and find some mushrooms to make a video, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be wandering into a coniferous forest, which, you know, I'm blessed here. We all are here on the Kitsap Peninsula. We got a lot of it, you know, and it's cool, you know, go out by Tahuya or up by Green Mountain, and there's just, there's so much, you know, right behind David Ansley right there, you know, all of that conifer forest right there. Perfect place to find mushrooms.